God, is it being filmed?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's only for the benefit of the system.
I don't do well with these, by the way, so I'm really sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Can I go? Yeah. So I'm going to look at marriage, money and class in persuasion. So the late 18th century to early 19th century, this was a change in radical views towards societies like marriage, love, intimacy, companionship. And although this era is typically known as the Georgian era, for writers such as Austen, it's more known as the Romantic era because they were trying to change society's attitudes towards marriage and love. Before this kind of era, it was more to do with a contract and agreement between families. So families would arrange, when children were very young, a suitable partner for them that would benefit the families, maybe to finance, inheritance, class, title, wealth, fortune, those kind of things. Whereas this was an era where women got to choose, or at least have a voice and a say in their marriage and who they fancied and who they'd like to be engaged to. So this was radical, this was really different. This is what Austen writes about in a lot of her novels. And also money and class were obviously very important. These were factors that women looked at when deciding suitable bachelors. This is seen in Anne and Wentworth. At the beginning of the novel, Anne's 19, she's allowed to choose who she wants to marry, and she sets her sights on Wentworth. Unfortunately, he has no fortune or title, so Lady Russell tries to persuade her out of it, and says that she was persuaded to believe the engagement was a wrong thing, indiscreet and improper. This is all because he's just basically a nobody in society. And unfortunately, Anne listens to what Lady Russell has to say and breaks off the engagement and declines him, which is unfortunate, and she's seen as quite a not a strong character. Whereas Elizabeth, on the other hand, is a really strong character in one of Austen's novels. When her mum, Elizabeth Bennet, arranged the marriage between her and Mr. Collins, she declines it hastily. She's seen as very independent, strong-willed. This isn't really seen, or what we'd expect a woman to be like in that kind of era. And it's more surprising to see what her dad's reaction is when he says that if she doesn't marry Mr. Collins, her mum will never see her again, but if she does, that he won't ever see her again. And it's nice to see that the older generation in these novels also are idealising about these kind of attitudes towards marriage. This isn't seen in Lady Russell, unfortunately. It's more older approach to the attitudes towards marriage, whereas Mr. Bennet incorporates the new ones. But was it really all fairy tale endings and love and happiness? Well, no, it wasn't. A lot of women didn't even have legal rights in these days. It was all to do with, before she got married, the legal existence of her was bestowed upon by the father, and then, but after it was incorporated within the husband's legal existence. So a lot of women writing critically in this era about feminine rights really were strongly opposed to these kind of, what's the word, sorry, were quite opposed to these, I've completely lost what I was going to say. So these were kind of the negative effects of marrying that era, whereas Austen looks at all the positives of the new idealisms of marriage. People, especially people like Florence Nightingale, were looking at all the negative approaches. In Persuasion, we see that actually women have a more dominant approach to money, and they're quite suitable in terms of finances, and they control them better than men do, actually. When A.D. Eliot dies, Sir Walter just can't control his finances, and obviously they go near to bankrupt. But when she was alive, there was a method, moderation, and economy. And even when she dies, Sir Walter then goes to Lady Russell to help him with his finances. So women seem to have this dominant control over finances in these novels, which is not what we consider women of that time to be like. We see kind of women in that time to be suppressed, passive victims of society, but Austen doesn't write like that. So does she represent women idealistically or realistically then? We know ideals of love and freedom within marriage were not shared by everybody. A lot of women, especially those seeking a professional occupation through marriage, thought of it negatively, despite the new ideals of intimacy and companionship. And Sword writes that in Jane Austen's novels, these issues of women's place, I can't pronounce that word.
Economy?
Yeah, economic security, proper marriage and sound
Economic.
education of girls and young women are represented realistically. So she believes that what Austen writes about in her novels is a realistic approach to what life was like in that era. But what does this term proper marriage even mean? Well, Florence Nightingale looks into it in her essay Cassandra, when she looks at the problems with women, the women's place, education, work, and says that the true marriage, the noble union by which a man and woman become together, the one perfect being, probably does not exist upon this earth. She's not saying it doesn't, she's saying it probably doesn't. And she looks upon marriage as a very negative concept in terms of women in that era, which is of no surprise, as in the 1850s she was going through herself some trouble with marriage within the family. So it was no wonder that she had all these negative connotations of marriage. But she does say that marriage is the only chance offered to her for this escape from its death. So she acknowledges that marriage is an escape and is actually better than to be not married and to be single at a very old age as a woman. And this was something seen also in Austen's novels. Women were really worried about being single at a very late stage. This is seen in Anne. She says that Anne hoped she outlived the age of blushing, but the age of emotion she certainly had not. Anne hopes she's kind of outgrown these childish, naive kind of quirks when she meets men, but she still has that emotion. She's still worried about being alone for the rest of her life. She still worries about meeting men and like building relationships. But an occupation for an unmarried woman that was suitable was to be a governess. This is seen in plays of Oscar Wilde. This is in The Romance of Being Ernest. This is also the occupation that Jane Eyre takes up in Bronte's novel. So that is an occupation that kind of gets you out of the marriage problems in that time, but it was feared upon as it was beneath the middle and upper classes. You were seen as more of a servant, so it wasn't deemed really a great occupation, but it was acceptable. And the importance of class and money is really important when you're looking at marriage. There are two really quickly changing factors in this era. Because the Industrial Revolution made money just a bigger part of society as class, these men were then coming out with fortunes and riches from, say, wars or companies, and they were deemed just as appropriate, or even more so, than men just with an inheritance or a class title. This is seen in Wentworth. He's the only male protagonist in Austen's novels that has nothing at the beginning and then comes out with fortunes from the war, the navy that he's in. And he comes back, he was rich, he was deemed appropriate for all the girls on the estate. And the other two characters within the novel that do kind of chop and change their importance of class and money is Elizabeth and then Mr. Elliot. Elizabeth at the beginning really wants to marry Mr. Elliot because of all the stuff going on in the family. He's going to inherit everything because he's the male heir to that line. So she wants to marry him so that it all stays within the family and it is agreeable with her father, it's a suitable suitor, whereas Mr. Elliot just wants to marry for fortune. He wants to get in, he wants to be wealthy. He states this at the beginning, so he puts fortune way above class in the novel until he gets to Bath, when for some reason his opinions change. When he meets Anne at the party in Bath, he says good company requires only birth, education and manners. So he's putting then class way above money later on in the novel, which is seen as really strange. Like, these views were so quickly changing. I think this is what Austen wanted to incorporate within the novels, that these change of class, marriage, love, intimacy were always changing. It was a time of constant change, and they wanted to break through so that the younger generation had more freedom and had more experience, and that they could go out into the world and do their own thing rather than be stuck with the older idealistics of their parents. And that's all I feel.
Well done. Well done for rushing through that.
Oh,
Sorry you had such a traumatic.
I'm sorry, I really don't